You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
If all goes well tonight, the Oilers could find themselves in second place in the Pacific Division. Opportunity awaits for this hockey club. It's a Sherwood Ford Giant game day as the St. Louis Blues roll into town. And Frank Seravalli is going to stop by. We cannot waste any more time. Let's get to the lead. Yes, Rusty, the reckless optimist, is in the YouTube chat, and he makes a great point. Tonight could be a huge night for the Edmonton Oilers. LA is in Boston. Seattle is in Carolina. Those are two very tough games. The Oilers have a Blues team that's absolutely reeling coming into Rogers Place. Edmonton could find themselves in second place in the Pacific Division by the end of the night. And even if it doesn't happen tonight, how about the opportunity that lays ahead for the rest of the month of December? Rusty, I know you have been big on the proponent of December is going to be this big turnaround. Well, the Oilers have 8 more games so far this month. Their opponents in those 8 games: St. Louis, Anaheim, Nashville, Dallas, Vancouver, Calgary, Seattle, and Winnipeg. 8 teams. Only 3 of them are above 500 in their last 10 games. The Oilers are 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're starting to play well. You look at the road ahead and you see a lot of teams that are kind of just sputtering along. This is a really intriguing opportunity for this hockey club to bank some points and put themselves in a really nice spot heading into 2023. It is a Sherwood Ford Giant game day. Our friends at Sherwood Ford have a fantastic mobile service department. It offers a convenient option to get repairs and maintenance for most makes and models of vehicles completed. Get this, Liam, get this, at your home or at your work. Let's say I'm here, I'm doing the show, and I'm like, the Nation truck needs an oil change. You know what I do? I go to the Sherwood Ford mobile service department. They skirt on up while I'm doing the show. They fix it all up. And they're gone. And I just sit here. I do my thing. I do my job.
And there you have it. I literally couldn't tell you one other place that does that.
I couldn't either. That's why we love our friends at Sherwood Ford. Also, it is The Lead, brought to you by Soho on Jasper, sohoyeg.com. $8 for a pint and a slice while you go there and watch the Oilers game on their 100-inch screen, or it's on Jasper Ave. It's right by the rink. It's a pregame spot. I would argue it's one of the better pregame spots in the entire city. Find out more, sohoyeg.com. Liam, the Oilers have 8 more games in the month of December. Tonight's a big one against St. Louis. What do you want to see their record be in these final 8 as they take on, like I said, only 3 teams that are above 500 in their last 10?
Well, I would like it to be 8-0. I think if they can go, I honestly don't even know the full schedule properly, but just based off these next 2 games, I think these next 2 are very winnable. After Christmas, they have 3 in a row, right? Yeah, I think if this team can go 5-3, that's very respectable. 6-2, maybe
6-2, my guy. Let's lock in on 6-2.
I think true. They got to start getting some momentum going here, and they've started to get it. What are they now? 6-8 in the last?
7-3 in their last 10.
Yeah, there it is. That's what I was trying to say. So they're on a roll right now. There's nothing to say they just can't continue that. But did you see that thing where they've gone 7-3 in their first 10? 3-7 in their next 10, and now 7-3 in their last 10. It seems to be a common trend here, folks.
You know what we should do? It's the Christmas season, and everyone's in a giving mood, you know? If the Oilers go 6-2, maybe we should make a little food bank donation a thing.
Yeah.
So here, you can scold me after.
Okay.
Because I know you have a light goal today.
I do.
But here's what we'll do for the food bank. However many likes we get on the show, that is how much we will donate to the food bank if the Oilers go 6-2 for the rest of the month. So there's some motivation for people to hit that like button.
In total or just from today's show?
Just from today's show while we're live. However many likes we get today, we'll take that amount of money. It's going to the food bank if the Oilers go 6-2 down the stretch.
Sounds good to me.
What is our like goal today? Tell the people.
All right. Well, now that you've said that, it feels wrong, to say the least. So.
Oh, I shouldn't have set you up for this, actually. Yeah, that is, I remember what you told. Okay.
So I'll explain how I got to this number before I announce the number. So if you do Wayne Gretzky's points total with St. Louis, with Nail Yakupov's and Magnus Paajarvi, it comes to 69. So today's like goal is 69.
Yep.
For that reason and food bank donations.
We're going to crush that like goal because we're already at 25. However many we get to while we're live, that money's going to go to the food bank as long as the Oilers go 6-2. We need some juice here. Tyler Mulick's in the chat. He says, boom, I'll match. Smart Cowboy says, boom, I'll match. There we go. It's the holiday season.
Time for giving. I'll also match is set up.
A lot of people saying they'll match. So you know what? We got something good going on here, I think, on Oilers Nation every day.
Should we? What are we going to donate? Soup?
No, you can go to their website. Just monetary donation of the site.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, that works nice.
Can you imagine if I did total items? If we did total items, we got like 130 likes, and it's like, oh my god.
Oh wow.
Total items. It's a lot of craft dinner we'd have to go
We're
buy.
already up to 29 likes. I like it too. 30.
There you go. 30 likes. We're trying to get to 69 today, and we're trying to do something good for the food bank here in the month of December. As always, we are live on the Nation Network YouTube. That is where we are reading the chat. Also on the Nation Network Facebook and Twitter. Frank Seravalli is going to be by in a couple of minutes, and we got a comment here from Peter King who says, let's try go a whole show without mentioning JP. Peter, you might not like where we're going with our friend Frank Seravalli. Of course, we got to ask him about Jesse Puljujarvi. If there's any other questions you want me to throw Frank's way, you can drop them in the chat right now. Desker says the Oilers going to light up the Blues to forget about last game. We can talk about that matchup a little bit. We're going to do our full Sherwood Ford Giant pregame preview after our hit with Frank. But the point is, this is a Blues team that is struggling right now. I think 3 wins in their last 10 games. Liam, it's not exactly going well for St. Louis. They've been a wildly streaky team so far this season. And part of the reason why is because they can't keep pucks out of their own net. And you might sit there and go, Tyler, is this the same St. Louis team that's allowed 1 goal in regulation in their last 2 games? Yeah, but despite the fact that they've only allowed 1 goal in regulation in their last 2 games, they are still putrid on the year. The 4th most goals against per game on the season. And a big reason why is because their penalty kill is absolutely junk. It is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. 31st in the NHL in PK percentage. And again, keep in mind, before I tell you this number, Liam, they have allowed 1 goal in regulation in their last 2 games. Still, in the month of December, they've allowed the 2nd most goals in the NHL.
And I think another just absolutely insane stat with them is the fact that they don't even give up that many penalties a game. Like, there it is. They're the 30th least penalty minutes in the league.
Yeah, they are.
Per game. And they still have the 30th worst penalty kill. It's amazing, to be honest, like just kind of how that worked out. And for a St. Louis team, I think we always associate them with those like good defensive work rate, like good defensive hockey team, all this stuff. And now we're just seeing the complete opposite of what that they are this season. And you would have to imagine that's the one spot the Oilers are going to want to truly capitalize on is you have a deadly power play and they have a dead penalty kill. So that's why the Oilers are going to try and make the money tonight, right?
Yeah. Eric Richards says he's preparing for a boring game. And that makes a lot of sense considering the last 2 times these 2 teams have gone head to head. It's been very low scoring. If you take out the empty netters, only 4 goals between the 2 sides in these 2 games. And a big reason why is because the St. Louis Blues have found a way to shut down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I don't get it. And quite frankly, I wonder, is that something the Blues are actually doing well? Or is it something where they're just kind of getting a little lucky? You know, and that could be a part of it. The Oilers haven't gotten a lot of looks with the man advantage. That means not a lot of chances for McDavid and Draisaitl to expose the awful penalty kill of the St. Louis Blues. But on the year, and we can take a peek at this. McDavid and Draisaitl. McDavid's only been held off the score sheet 4 times. Draisaitl's only been held off the score sheet 5 times. These are from Jason Gregor's game notes on OilersNation.com. Go down the list here. Connor McDavid's had 7 4-point games this year. That is insane.
I think the funniest thing about this thing we got up here is the fact Draisaitl has had 2 5-point games, but only 1 4-point game.
Yeah, he doesn't like sitting at that number 4. If he's sitting at 3, he kind of sits there on the bench and he goes, listen, if I'm going to get one more, I better be damn sure that there's enough time for me to pick up one more. But if you go 3+ point games, and Gregor had this stat, I think it's tremendous. McDavid's gone over 3 points or 3 points or more 9 times. Draisaitl 7. That's crazy considering there's only 3 other players in the NHL who have had more than 6.
Yeah. I mean, that's just insane, isn't it? What these guys have been able to do this season.
Yeah.
it's very interesting because the last 2 games the Oilers have played, you played Minnesota, who you just can't beat. I know they beat them on Friday.
Yeah, but like they've lost 8 of their last 9 against the Wild.
Then you play Nashville, who Draisaitl just dominates every time he plays, and now you're playing St. Louis, who just shut down McDavid and Draisaitl. 3 like very different storylines for that. So this is a night where, if it's the case again, where the depth, the McDavid and Draisaitl just aren't able to get going, then Oilers are going to need some other guys to step up. And I think this is could be a good momentum boost, I suppose. Like the depth is actually producing a little bit more now too. So
keep this up for a little bit longer, Alex. But I just wanted to keep going with what Gregor was talking about. Although your thing, that ties into keys to the game, maybe, which we'll get to a little bit later in the show. So McDavid has 9 games with 3+ points. Draisaitl has 7. Crosby, Kucherov, Rantanen, and Thompson have done it 6 times. The only other 4 guys who've done it 6 times or more. And then there's 2 players who have done it 5 times. Jason Robertson and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Hot damn, what a season for Nuggy.
Yeah, he's coming through. A lot of people were talking about, because they changed the All-Star voting, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people were like, okay, well, who are we getting in? Nuge or Skinner? Who would your vote be?
I mean, I would feel happy to send Nuge to an All-Star game. He's having such a good year, man.
Yeah, he's. I think that one's pretty locked and loaded from Oilers fans.
And also, remember how the All-Star game works, right? Each division sends 2 or 3 goalies. However that, right? They send 2. Each division sends 2. So it's like the top 25% for goalies in a division get in. So
you might even not need to.
Let's look. Logan Thompson, okay, he's the guy.
Yeah.
The Kraken have had terrible goaltending. Yeah. The Kings have had terrible goaltending. Markstrom's been brutal, or inconsistent, I should say. That Tredemko's hurt, hasn't played a lot.
Yeah, so he's not going.
You're not sending James Reimer to the All-Star game.
And then John Gibson has,
like, Skinner might legitimately be an All-Star on merit this year.
That's true. That's true. Might not even need to vote him in.
Yeah,
All-Stars for the Oilers.
There is a lot that we need to get to with our friend Frank Seravalli.
Can you ask him about Troy Terry?
No, we're not. And Tyler Mulick's in the chat saying that he's kind of backing you up. Okay, you know what? Let's get to Frankly Speaking with Frank Seravalli. No? Do we have a bumper?
Oh, there we go.
Frank, just quickly, tell Liam he's insane for thinking Troy Terry could get moved.
Absolutely insane. Makes no sense. Troy Terry bordering on elite and has maybe had some of the best seasons that no one has really been talking about, especially when you drill down on the underlying numbers and how valuable he is to the Anaheim Ducks and their age range of what they'd be pushing. Doesn't make any sense.
The comparison someone in the chat said was, to defend you, Liam, was, well, DeBrincat got traded. Similar situation is what they said. But I feel like the Ducks are trying to climb up a little bit more.
Similar how?
Young sniper, future star.
Yeah, but DeBrincat needed a contract that had a $9 million qualifying offer, which is a big reason why he was... The Blackhawks like, we're not signing this guy to a 7-year deal when the next 5 of them are going to be no good. Let's trade him and get the assets that they needed. They picked 3 times in the first round. I would say, if anything, that's the one thing Anaheim needs, is to kind of get more first-round picks, because they don't have many.
Yeah. You were at the Board of Governors meeting earlier this week. The salary cap is something, obviously, a lot of Oilers fans are paying close attention to. There was a moment where we were like, hey, this thing might go up $4.5 million. It seems now, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not likely to happen?
I am going to correct you, because I think that is incorrect. I've never been more convinced that the salary cap will be going up by $3.5, $4 million this summer. And the reason for that is, Tyler, we finally learned the data that the NHL has in their arsenal, and that is that the current projection is only $70 million is remaining, or projected to be remaining, on the debt to be repaid from players to owners. Bettman also revealed for the first time that the debt had originally ballooned to $1.5 billion at one point. So that means that if only 70 is remaining, that the players will have paid off 96% of their debt, and that 70 million would be on pace to be paid off probably before puck drop even happens to open the regular season next season. So therefore, to keep an artificially low cap for one more season with such little remaining on the books is not just damaging to the overall game, but I think, in fact, there's going to be enough governors and owners that are upset saying we need to come to some sort of negotiation to get our cap moving in the right direction, because there's so much stagnation when it comes to player transactions that I think they're going to push it forward and say, hey, let's negotiate some kind of deal with the PA, whoever's in charge of the NHL PA at that point, to then get the cap increase so we don't have a fourth straight season of a flat and or frozen cap.
Yeah, like, because when I heard that $70 million number, the first thing that popped in my head was, well, if you can get the cap to go up an extra $3 million, that's what, a potential $96 million that could be available to the players. It would have made sense for them to just say, hey, we'll scrape together whatever and get this thing paid off. So you think it could go up? That's good news for a GM like Ken Holland, hey?
It's good news for like 25 out of the 32 teams. Like, quite honestly, like, that's the thing. This is like I hate to use the term victimless crime, but like, that's sort of, if they end up wiping that debt away, that's sort of essentially what it is, or change in how it's paid back, the formula. Like, it just makes sense that almost everyone benefits here.
Yeah. Another thing that was loosely discussed, Gary Bettman shot down the idea of changing up the playoff format at all, saying that you don't kind of mess with a good thing. You're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. I'm torn on it. On one hand, I kind of like the idea of 16 of your 32 teams get in, and that's a good even number, 50%. You got to be in the top half of the league to make the playoffs. What's your thought on potentially adding a play-in game? Do you like the idea?
I tend to agree with you that I'm way more of a traditionalist in that sense. That, like, I think it's a nice round number. Like, and the NHL has had to do considerable work to get to that point. Consider that when Gary Bettman was elected as commissioner December 11th, so last Sunday, 30 years ago, 1992, Tyler was not yet born. And there were 24 teams in the NHL, and Gary Bettman was commissioner, and 16 made the playoffs. They've added that many teams now where it's a 50-50 proposition. So it's trended in the right direction for this entire time. However, I would say that I would like to see a play-in tournament, but only on the basis that you must be within a certain number of points to trigger a play-in tournament. So let's say, I don't know, call it 5 points or 10 points. Well, then we're going to invite the 9th and 10th place team in each conference to participate in this play-in tournament, give the couple teams at the top a rest. And I thought it was a really interesting point made by Cam Sharon today on Daily Faceoff Live, even if he delivered it a little bit quickly. But when you think about the situation, it would solve the NHL's biggest problem for 8 teams every year, a quarter of the league, which is they end up in no man's land. They're too far away from the draft lottery. They have absolutely nothing to play for because they're too far away from the playoffs. And it ends up being the most miserable season possible, where you are then basically hanging your hopes on a 3% or 1% chance that your team somehow miraculously, by the grace of God, gets in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. It doesn't, I think adding in a play-in in that case, it doesn't hurt anyone. It adds drama. It could potentially add some more revenue, although Bettman seemed to indicate that he doesn't think that would be the case. I just think it would spice it up. Like, I'm all for, let's get wild. This is supposed to be fun. It's pro sports. Like, it's so overly serious.
I don't mind, and I thought Cam Sharon made a good point of just doing it the way the NBA does, because then it actually creates like a ripple effect of playoff races, right? If it's like, okay, team number 7 plays 10 and 8 plays 9, then all of a sudden you're pushing to try to get out of spot 7. So there's a race there. Then there's a race, if all the games happen in one building, to get from 9 or 10 to potentially 7 or 8 to get a playoff, to get the home playoff spots as well. And then there's also the race just to get into the play-in. Like, it would create a lot of layers and potentially some drama down the stretch. So I do see that side of it being like, oh man, the last 2 weeks of the season could just be wildly intense. And to be fair, Frank, like, we haven't gotten a lot of good playoff races the last couple of years.
Well, I think the response from the commissioner was this is going to dilute the regular season. And I would argue that it actually makes it way more intriguing and interesting, that if you can be within 5 points or whatever the number is, like you can't have a play-in scenario where a team's like 30 points back. Like that's absolutely insane. Like I don't think anyone should be advocating for that. But that's why I sort of gave it the caveat of like, well, if you're within 5 points in an 82 game season, your team is mostly the same anyway. Like, don't give me the whole like, holier than thou. Like, well, our team's in a playoff spot. Like, you're 5 points better. You're the same team after 82 games. So, for me, I think it's just stuff like this should be considered every year. You get to the Board of Governors meetings. Let's take complacency, traditionalism, and throw it out the window. Let's get wild. Let's have a million different conversations about what works, what might work. And frankly, also sometimes what doesn't work. What's an insane idea that makes no sense? Put it all out there. Let's have fun. It's not even just fun. Let's try and make the game better. It's this like, for whatever reason, Tyler, the NHL gets complacent. It's like, we're really happy being a $5.5 billion league. We're a niche sport in the NHL in the US. It could just be better. It can. It's possible.
All right. The chat is clamoring for me to get some insider info out of you, Frank. All week, we have been talking about the fact that Pat Verbeek was in attendance for 2 Oilers games. And everyone's wondering, could the Ducks be interested in Jesse Puljujarvi? Could Puljujarvi be taking the plane home with Anaheim after their game on Saturday? Are we reading way too much into Pat Verbeek just being at a couple Oilers games?
Maybe. So the games were, where were the games played? Nashville and
They were
Minnesota,
Nashville.
Okay. It's interesting that he traveled to those locations on back-to-back nights, if I'm also not mistaken.
Yep.
So I don't have any inside info in terms of what that might mean. Would Puljujarvi make sense as a dumping ground, if you will? I know I can't say that to the Puljujarvi faithful, but that's where it's at the moment. And they're one team that has made it abundantly obvious to everyone else, we are willing to take your problems off your hands. You got to pay us to do it, but you can send your contracts here that you can't move anywhere else. So that's part of it. But I also think you'd have to look at some of the other pieces on their roster too, right? What about a John Klingberg in the final year of his deal? If you are convinced that the Oilers need a defenseman, he would seem to make a lot of sense. He's like the best. I would say he's the best well-rounded defenseman available. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, the only thing would be his cap hit, but if the Ducks kept half of it, him and Puljujarvi would almost be a wash, and then you're obviously still throwing in picks to make it work. But also, he's a righty, right? So how would you slot him in, considering you have 3 righties on your roster already?
I think he's also spent a bit of time playing in his career on the left side, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe there's some balance or flexibility there, but I don't know. I just think the Ducks are in a spot where they're open to considering a lot of things. I just don't think Troy Terry is one of them.
Liam catching a stray right at the end of that one as well. What about the idea, we floated this one out the other day on the show, Puljujarvi for Comtois. Big forward, 2 young guys, could use a change of scenery, flip them.
So the Oilers would have to add something.
They would? Okay.
I think I've spent a lot of time watching Comtois. I saw him at World Junior. He's such an engaging and interesting personality. And I think there's something there. I don't know why he hasn't been able to put it all together in Anaheim. But he makes sense to me. He's got a lot in that skill set that has not really even scratched the surface in the NHL.
Last year, heading into the deadline, Claude Giroux was the big name, obviously. Then there were some defensemen like Ben Schrott that ended up getting moved. This year, I'm looking at the list of guys that could be available. And if the Blues, they're in town tonight, if they fall out of it, Tarasenko probably isn't re-signing there anyways, so you could see them potentially moving him. O'Reilly could be on the block. You have the 2 big guns in Chicago. You have Bo Horvat in Vancouver now. Timo Meier in San Jose. I'm looking at this list and I'm like, man, there's almost an embarrassment of riches that could potentially be available on the trade market. Could this be one of the spiciest deadlines we've had in recent memory? I know we're still a ways away, but
Yeah, I think my only fear is that some of it happens in January or February. We don't actually make it to deadline day. But nonetheless, I think your point is valid that like this could be one of the best deadline periods. And it's also happening at a time when there's so much intrigue because we just talked about the salary cap and how hard it is to move money. This is going to be the year of the third party broker. I'm calling it now. Like it's happening. You're going to see a number of teams step up, including Anaheim, Chicago, Buffalo, Arizona, to wield their cap space and make things work, get assets in return. And that's the only way it's going to happen with a lot of these guys. Like how many teams, even if they wanted Bo Horvat, like they're going to need help trying to fit his cap hit into their team. Like so many teams aren't even accruing cap space in LTIR. It's a crazy, crazy year. And I'm here for all of it because I think not only that, it's going to be a really interesting summer as well. What happened? Like David Pastrnak, there has not really been any drama because I think everyone knows like the Bruins are, even if on the odd chance they can't find a way to re-sign him, they're not trading him. Like this team is right in it. So they'd just be keeping him. So it's sort of been quiet to think like, hey, these are so many names that could impact next summer as well.
And you are here for it, and you will be here for it with a weekly hit on Oilers Nation every day. Frank, we're going to let you go because we might have, Liam, tell me if this is true, what I'm reading in the chat. We might have the juiciest clip that's come out of the Oilers in a while in a press conference.
Another Oiler may have said something to Jim Matheson.
Oh, we got, okay, Frank, we got to let you go and dig into that.
I'm staying for this.
What's the quote?
The quote was, Jim Matheson asked Klim Kostin if he keeps up with like the St. Louis Blues, and Klim Kostin told him that fans think Jim Matheson asks the worst questions to the Oilers.
The fans don't like your questions. I saw on Twitter, you need to change something, is what Klim Kostin said to Jim Matheson.
Yikes.
Prepare the t-shirts.
Oh, right? The only thing I can think of is like Home Alone, like Buzz's girlfriend. Woof.
All right. Thanks for your time this week, Frank.
See you guys.
Let's get okay.
Can we get the clip, Alex? Could we find that on Twitter?
Is it someone has? Do you have a tweet of it? Okay, let's see if we can play that for the people before the end of the show.
I'll find it.
Okay. Liam, we're putting Liam to work here as we dig into the Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. You heard me say it earlier. Their mobile service is absolutely tremendous. Check out more. There's actually a link in our description of today's episode if you want to find out more about our friends at Sherwood Ford. Klim Kostin, my God, if you weren't already a fan favorite, we're going to roll that clip for you right away. Let's get into some other goodies here as we get set for tonight's game against the St. Louis Blues. They are rolling into town with just 3 wins in their last 10 games on the season. The St. Louis Blues are 13-15-1 with a -23 goal differential. Their penalty kill is abysmal. Their power play is not that great either. There's just really not a lot going well for this St. Louis Blues team. I should add their power play 21st in the NHL since the start of December. They are giving up a lot of goals. They are not scoring a ton. This is a game in which the Oilers need to come out and put their best foot forward. They're back on home ice. You're coming off a big win against the Nashville Predators. You split a tough set on the road. Keep building on the positive momentum that you seem to be creating in the 7-3 run that you're currently on for the Edmonton Oilers. They've also found a way to really improve their home record. 9-7-0 on the season at home at Rogers Place are the Edmonton Oilers. Here's a little fun stat about the Oilers as well. Only team in the NHL who have not had a loser point yet. Part of it is they're just really good in OT. Like they've won a couple in OT now, but.
Yeah, it was a while that they didn't even get to overtime. I think it was till after the 20-game mark.
Yeah, it was.
Got there, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, kind of would like to get them there a little bit more if they're coming from behind a little bit, I suppose. But it is what it is. Just get 2 points. I don't give a damn if you get 1. Just get the 2.
This Blues team is in an interesting spot. Like I said, they're actually relatively healthy, which is surprising when you look at their top 6 on dailyfaceoff.com and see that Josh Levo is playing on their top line, and he's been playing on their top line for quite some time as well. It's Ryan O'Reilly with Brandon Saad and Josh Levo. Maybe I shouldn't talk too much smack about number 17 on the Blues, considering he has 2 goals in his last 5 games. The second line is Braden Shen with Pavel Buchnevich and Vladimir Tarasenko. Robert Thomas with Ivan Barbashev and Jordan Kyrou. Man, Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, those are 2 guys who just set the world on fire last year. I remember chatting with Jordan Kyrou when I was at NHL All-Star. And like it was just the 2 of us. No one else even came to the guy's booth. I actually felt kind of bad for him. And I was like, man, you're a 30 goal scorer at the All-Star break. Like, did you even think you could do this? And he kind of laughed. And he was like, honestly, if you told me I'd be sitting here as a 30 goal scorer at the break, I wouldn't believe you. And we had a good chuckle about it.
You could probably ask the same question to Tage Thompson this year.
Yeah, you probably could.
Guy,
I mean, right? He almost scored 40 last year, but like for him to repeat it after getting that big ticket, you're right. But anyways, the point I'm getting at here with both Thomas and Kyrou, there have been a lot of questions about their commitment to playing defense this year. There's something Mike McKenna's hit on a lot on Daily Faceoff Live, and they're just flat out not having as good of a season as they should be. Both Thomas and Kyrou, only 16 goals between the 2 of them so far this season. Now, the fourth line for the Blues actually features a couple of former Oilers, our Aussie friend Nathan Walker, who we all love, with Tyler Pitlick, who is another guy. Man, I had high hopes for Tyler Pitlick. And correct me if I'm wrong, he got off to a start to the season with the Oilers, and I think I'll actually be able to fact check it.
I think he got hurt.
Yeah, so he had like 10 goals in 20-some games, I want to say, with the Oilers one year. His last season with the team, 8 goals in 31 games. And it was like, man, Tyler Pitlick is on a 20-goal pace right now. And then he blew out his ACL. And if I remember correctly, it would have been the 16-17 season. I think it was a game against the Blues in St. Louis. 16-17. It was December 19th against the St. Louis Blues. He played 8 minutes. He scored, and then he blew out his ACL, and he was done for the season. Pitlick now with the Blues. I always liked him, though.
I liked him, too. And he went to Dallas right after, right?
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, he was only on like a $1 million deal.
That's all he's pretty much ever made. Yeah, like he's just bounced around a ton.
Which, for me, is like the Oilers in that stage, like, would have been nice to probably keep someone like that around. You know, like, who else really needed to take the risk on him? What was the risk for you? You have a guy on $1 million. You're not very good anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get it. Like, maybe he wasn't going to come back with his knee, but he'd also scored 8 goals for him. What did you say? 31 games that season. Like, the promise was there. I thought that was actually quite disappointing. I specifically remember being bummed about that one every single time I see his name.
Well, and Dallas signed him again, coming off the ACL thing, and he popped home 14 goals for them. He almost had 30 points.
He's a good player.
Yeah, and since then, so it was 2 years in Dallas. Then it was a year in Philly, a year in Arizona, a year in Calgary, and then a year in Montreal. Now he finds himself in St. Louis. Like, this guy is on his 6th team in 6 seasons. And he's in the lineup now. He's played 20 games. He only has the 1 goal. He's in a 4th-line role. But we hear about the Oilers, and, you know, this is coming from, obviously, someone who just said he likes Tyler Pitlick, but we're more familiar with him than another 4th-liner on another team. He's making league minimum. If one of the Oilers' goals is to be harder to play against, he costs you conditionals at the deadline. Why not?
In some ways, he's very similar to kind of what Klim Kostin is right now from when he was younger, right? A bottom 6 guy who can contribute offensively and brings a positive impact to the team. And yeah, I think if you can find a guy like that at the deadline, then why not? If you're going to go out and get a Derek Brassard for a 4th-round pick, Tyler Pitlick's probably a guy you can go look at too. And like you said, I'm sure there's other guys around the league who can do what he does too, but we're just more familiar with him. And I've always kind of appreciated his game.
Yeah, me too. That's how the Blues forward lineup looks. On the blue line, it's Leddy with the big local product, Colton Parayko, Krug with Falk, Mikkola with Robert Bortuzzo, and I do believe, Liam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think, is it Binnington getting the start tonight for the St. Louis Blues?
It, yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's going to be Jordan Binnington against Stuart Skinner tonight between the pipes for the Oilers. Binnington on the year, 3.23 goals against average, .894 save percentage, and he leads the NHL in piss baby moments per 60. This guy is a loser. All he does is just whine and do dumb stuff. And his coach is even sick of it, saying earlier in the season that, in reference to the antics, it has to stop. Just stop the puck. Jordan Binnington coming off a shutout, 25 save shutout of the Nashville Predators. But before that, in his 4 games previously, he allowed 17 goals. Yikes. Including a couple games where he couldn't even crack an .800 save percentage. So, all that to say, Jordan Binnington's the guy you can beat if you're the Oilers tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think he's anything too special unless you get into the playoffs with him. Then he kind of turns the page a little bit. But he's it's one thing I was thinking about coming in is like, could that be like a key to victory is getting under his skin? But then I thought, who's gonna do it? Who's gonna like is Klim Kostin the guy I suppose would be the one? But yeah, I don't know. I think Binnington is a very beatable goalie for the Oilers. Do we have the clip, Alex?
Do we have the Kostin clip before we get to Oilers lines?
100 views.
Oh, I see it. Let's get it. Let's give it to the people, Alex. I haven't heard this. This is my first time seeing it.
Did you still pay attention to how St. Louis does in the games?
Oh, I think the fans don't like your questions, eh? On a Twitter, I saw it. You need to change something.
Well, I'm still waiting for your question to us.
Oh, one more time.
Okay. So it's definitely not
aggressive.
Yeah. So like when you read the quote, it sounds aggressive. Like just again, maybe it's because of our perception of Jimmy and how players usually interact with him. But it sounds like, whoa.
Yeah.
Did he go like hard at him? This sounds like Klim Kostin just like scrolling through Twitter. In that case, I just want to keep tweeting good stuff about Klim Kostin if he's going to see it. My prince, my king.
I wonder if he sees my Mr. Clean.
Probably.
That'd be nice. What a man. Like it's been like 2 weeks of Klim Kostin just quickly becoming the most favorable player in Edmonton.
So Jacob's in the chat and says, gosh, yikes, not cool, man. I get Matheson isn't great, but come on. I mean, if you can watch, my takeaway from that clip is Klim Kostin is just having some fun with Jim. You don't think Jim knows that the fans don't like his question? He does. I talked to Jim. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. We've both met Jim. I think he has a humorous side to him. Like he's not as bad as people make him out to be, I think is a good way to put it. But also, just at the end of the clip, he also says, sorry, can you just repeat the question? As he's like, they're clearly laughing with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, there are a lot of people around Oilers Twitter, I will say, who they are in person in terms of being kind of like nasty and sour is exactly who they are in real life. Jim Matheson has like the snarky side on Twitter.
Yeah.
In person, I am telling you, he is one of the nicest men on the planet. I've never had like a bad interaction with Jim. I love him.
He gave me a lot of advice one time in the Oil Kings press conference room. So shout out Jim.
Yeah, I always have you're never not smiling when you're chatting with old Jimmy Matheson. Anyways, Alex is in, says we need more of this in interviews. And yeah, it's like a fun bit of back and forth. And I don't know, anyone who thinks this is like Klim Kostin taking a stab at Jim Matheson, which also would have been hilarious.
Yeah. Yes.
This is just fun banter. All right. Flute says he seemed so uncomfortable saying it. I mean, his English isn't great, so it's probably what that comes from. Oh, that's good. That is good. Let's get to your lines tonight for the Edmonton Oilers, just based on how they were at their skate today. It seems like things are going to stay the same for Jay Woodcroft and company. McDavid with Draisaitl and Hyman, the line that makes a 5-on-5 look like a power play rather consistently. Nuge with Janmark and Yamamoto, Hamblin with Holloway and Puljujarvi, Shore with Klim Kostin, and Derek Ryan, and the D pairings, Nurse with Ceci, Kulak with Barry, Broberg with Bouchard. Broberg with Bouchard, a duo who had tremendous numbers in that game against Nashville. And you know, we had high hopes for Broberg coming into the season. Mm-hmm. A lot of people said, hey, is he going to be capable of being your everyday third pairing kind of defenseman? Left shot, give you maybe a little bit of puck moving, a little bit of speed, and just be good enough in his own end. Early on, he was hurt. That wasn't happening. But now I think I look at Broberg and I go, Liam, yeah, you know, damn right. He's doing this. Broberg right now is exactly the bar and the goal I would have set for him at the beginning of the season. He's playing great.
Yeah, he's doing
not
really
great, but
well.
he's playing well. Yeah,
I think the main thing for him is you're not hearing about him a lot. He's just kind of out there. He's doing his thing. You see him skate around and you say, oh, there's 86. I forgot he was playing. It's not a bad thing. It means he's kind of growing into the NHL. And I think for a young defenseman who Broberg has the capabilities of being a very good offensive player, but right now he's learning how to play defense in the league. And like you said, the numbers against Nashville reflect on a kid that's kind of growing into it a little bit more. And I think that's just what it is. And like, there's always going to be the comparisons with him of, oh, he was picked ahead of Caulfield and Zegras. And like, I get it. But I think it's just a lot different for defensemen developing compared to forwards, and especially the teams those two players are on. So I believe in Broberg. I think just got to keep playing him. And I'm really happy to see that he's found a continuous spot in this team, and the Oilers just haven't kept flipping him for Ryan Murray. Yeah. I think that's a good thing.
I agree with you 100%. Smart Cowboy says, wouldn't take much to be better than Murray. Yeah, I mean, fair, sure. Just to give you guys some context into what I was talking about with how good Broberg and Bouchard were. So at 5-on-5 against Nashville, they played 9 minutes and 18 seconds together. In that time, the goals were 1-0. So they weren't on the ice for a goal against. They were on the ice for a goal for. That works. The shots were 11-5 in favor of the Oilers. The scoring chances were 8-3 in favor of the Oilers. And granted, they had a lot more offensive zone faceoffs compared to D zone faceoffs. They had 8 O zones, 3 neutrals, and 2 defensive zones. But out of their 13 shifts together in that game, they started 10 of them on the fly. So again, Jay Woodcroft feeling comfortable just using this as a duo that, hey, as the plays kind of going, there's some flow, boom, send them over the boards, and you're getting good results. So I think all of that is really, really encouraging and hopefully a solid building block for them. Also, the forward line they were out there with the most was Devon Shore's line. So it's not like they were just milking minutes with McDavid and Draisaitl. They spent over 4 minutes. Their 3 most popular forwards that Bouchard was on the ice with, Shore, Puljujarvi, Kostin.
Yeah, and that's interesting, actually. You say that it's not like they're out there with McDavid and Draisaitl every shift. They're out there with a line that is probably going to put them in a bad spot every now and then. But it's good to see. Then, like, I feel like at the start of the season, we were critical a little bit, maybe more me than other people, of Woodcroft and Manson's decisions of when players were going on the ice. But it feels like those two have also adjusted very well recently into putting players in better spots to thrive. And I think we've seen that a lot with Bouchard and Broberg. Like you said, that fourth line is playing a lot better now as well, I think. And that third line is thriving a little bit more. And yeah, like, I think it's shown a lot of promise. And I guess another thing on that too is just, we spoke about a lot too, is like the strength of schedule and how a cup contender shouldn't really worry about it. But sometimes I guess the flip side of that is if you're playing weaker opponents, it allows you to gain more confidence rather than going at it every single night and not really sure how it's going to go. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think that's helping the others out a lot too. And maybe that's what's helping. This is the stretch Broberg has come in for now, has been a lot lighter for the team and a lot more available to thrive. So I think it's great to see, and it's good to see that it's 2 young guys that are doing it together and not just Broberg and CC.
Someone in the chat was saying that we need to update the jerseys on dailyfaceoff.com because they're still orange. Yes, maybe we need to send our boy Brock to the sports closet where he can pick up some new Oilers jerseys. Brock, get the right look. You can get the right look, sportscloset.ca, or picking up a gift for the sports fan in your life. Tonight, the Oilers are wearing their reverse retros. Look at that. Beautiful Connor McDavid one on our wall here, courtesy of the Sports Closet. They got it all there. They got the jerseys. They got different names on the back. And they have all the apparel that goes with it. There's like a sweet starter jacket kind of thing that I love. It is on my Christmas list if anyone's watching. The reverse retro Adidas starter jacket. Looks sick. Got the logo on it. Then on the back, it's got like big writing. It's dope. Anyways, you can take a look at it yourself. Sportscloset.ca.
We're currently at 114 viewers, Tyler.
That is the most we've ever had in the history of the show on YouTube.
So I dropped a message in the chat just so everyone knows. If the Oilers go 6-2 in the next 8 games, which puts them to the end of December, we are taking donations to the food bank for every like we get on the video. We're currently at 83. So if we could get to 100, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, you know what? Let's try to get the likes to a nice even 100 today. And then when the Oilers go 6-2, bang, we're donating $100 to the food bank. Yeah, it's easy as that. And if you want to join in on that little, I won't quite call it a wager because we're not really wagering anything, but that little.
If you want to help out.
Yeah. I know a couple of you said early, a couple of the regulars were in and we're like, hey, we'll match that. So why not? Let's hit 100 likes, everybody. All right. Yeah, Kyler. Damn, 110 viewers, new record. And you know what? The 110 viewers is great. And what I love doing when we get to a number like this is encouraging people who haven't jumped into the chat before on YouTube to jump into the chat as well. Because we have all of our regulars, which are they're quickly becoming my favorite people. are, I mean, I don't want to rattle them off because I want to miss everyone, but you guys know who you are. I read your comments a ton, and we really do appreciate it. McJesus is in, says, when's Oilers Nation After Dark happening? Yes, that is coming in 2023. Oilers Nation After Dark, and we're going to be introducing a new voice. I'll give you some hints. It's going to be a new voice hosting the show. They do not work for Oilers Nation yet. And save the Beatcast stuff too, whatever. New voice, never had any content go out on Oilers Nation.
No.
But he's been on this show before. There you go. There you go.
Let's get some guesses in the chat. I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong,
Yeah,
but throw out some guesses.
Actually, if you look through the guest history, my guesses, it'd be pretty easy to figure it out. But drop some comments here in the chat and let me know if you're watching right now and you've never jumped in before, never jumped into the chat. Comment. It's my first comment, and we'll give you some love. Colton says, I'm an everyday listener, but always in podcast form. There you go.
Yeah, you can find us on a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Alex says, you're doing a great job. Love the shows. Love you, Alex. And Tyler says, hashtag save the Beatcast. I don't know. Bag Milk has the power to save it. That's I'll leave it at that. Let's get to our bets today. Liam, did you clean up as well as I did against the Nashville Predators?
Yes, I think everyone did. If you bet on Leon Draisaitl, you cleaned up pretty well that night.
He was plus 115 to go over 1.5. Hyman cleaned up. I had Hyman to score as well. We had the Oilers to win and Draisaitl at plus 200. Also, I hit one of the big Betway builders. It was 14 to 1, Liam. I nailed it. And I'm just going to pull it up quickly, actually, to make sure I read it off right.
Betway is just...
It's the best.
It's just the given season is over at Betway.
Sorry, it was 13 to 1. Oilers to win over 6.5. And Draisaitl to score 2+ goals. My girlfriend Amber's listening. You're getting a good Christmas present this year, thanks to that wager. All right. But what do you got tonight?
All right. So we spoke about it earlier. The Blues penalty kill stinks. So I went with an Oilers power play goal in the first. Well, not Oilers, I guess anyone, but I'm hoping it's the Oilers. Power play goal in the first period, plus 120. And then if the Oilers are going to win, I say it every time I make this bet, McDavid's probably getting a point or two. So Oilers to win and McDavid to get 2+ points, plus 125. The Betway caught up to us a little bit though, Tyler, because both that one that I hit the one against Nashville, which was McDavid to get a point if the Oilers win and Draisaitl to get one if the Oilers won 2. And they were both plus money, but today they are both McDavid is minus 150, I believe, and Dry is minus 138. So there's still a little bit there. It's still worth a hit probably, but I like to chase the juice, people, so we're going to be chasing it a little bit. Maybe I got to go a little bit more aggressive on my bets if I keep saying chase the juice, but anything plus money is good for me.
I think I feel like tonight might be a sneaky overnight.
I kind of thought that too.
So in that case, why don't we take a gander plus 400, Oilers to win over 6.5 and Leon to score again? Plus 400. Plus 400.
May as well. He's on a roll. Like I said, he's two 5-point nights this season. Could be a third tonight.
Yeah. My bets today, I really like targeting Zach Hyman. I did it on Daily Faceoff Live. This guy to pick up an assist in the hockey game, which he's done in 4 of his last 5 games as well. That is paying out minus 118 on Betway. Great spot. Also, this guy's shot prop. He's crushing it, Liam. Just crushing it. Hit it in 5 in a row. Hit it in 8 of his last 10. It's plus 110 tonight. You're going to keep giving me plus odds on Zach Hyman hit his shot prop. I'm going to keep making money off it.
It feels like the Dry and McDavid over 1.5 points in the playoffs. If it's there, you got to hit it.
If it's there and plus money, you take it.
You take it. I was kind of looking at puck line too, but I didn't want to get too greedy and ahead of myself. But I think it could be a good night for the Oilers. We've talked about all season how inconsistent they've been, how consistently inconsistent. Now they're finding a bit of a rhythm. I'm believing in this team a lot right now, and I think they're believing in themselves too. And the fact that the Klim Kostin thing that we showed before, to me, so there's a little bit of confidence within the team.
Yeah. Someone was asking in here. It was an interesting question. How do you feel about McDavid getting power or penalty kill time? It's interesting. So the adjustment they've kind of made this year is like last season, Draisaitl was the guy that killed, right? He was out there to win draws, ice the puck, and then he'd get off the ice. And this year, they put McDavid out there. And I thought Jason Gregor had an interesting explanation to it, that having McDavid out there is either Gregor or Struddy on their show. Having one of them out there, or having McDavid out there, kind of keeps the other team's best players on edge. Remember that game against Washington? Carlson tries to flutter one in. McDavid knocks it down, goes the other way, scores. So just McDavid out there buzzing, and the threat that, okay, if I try a risky pass as a guy going up against a penalty kill with Connor McDavid on the ice, if I try a risky pass and it doesn't work, that guy has an odd man the other way, and we're probably giving up a goal. So does it put the other team's stars in a weird spot?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And on the flip side, it's somewhat similar to like the Ovechkin shot on the power play. You kind of know what he's gonna do. Like he's there and he's gonna be a threat. Like it's obviously a bit different because McDavid's not gonna have the puck, but also the speed factor. There's what's that saying? I always forget it, but it's like the best defense.
Yeah, best defense is a good
offense. So McDavid, I get it. Like people probably want to see his minutes come down, but also the penalty kill has been stinking this year.
Mm-hmm.
If he's a difference maker on it, then that's fine. I'm not expecting him to go out there and block shots and stuff, and I don't think anyone is. But his speed is almost just as good as blocking a shot.
Yeah,
it brings a different level of the penalty kill. Yeah. So I'm in on it.
I do also think, and someone reached out to me through the DMs and asked this question, that are they not putting Draisaitl on the penalty kill? Notice when they had a 5-on-3, it was Nuge who handled the bulk of it. Are they not putting Draisaitl on the PK because maybe he's hurt? And I am not saying this as like a report or anything like that, or I'm not saying I have inside info, but it wouldn't surprise me the least. If there's something they're just monitoring with Draisaitl and they're like, hey, you don't need to do that. You don't need to take a shot off the foot, take a shot off the ankle, and go down with something. There might just be an area they're keeping an eye on, and they're saying, hey, we don't need to risk anything here.
Yeah, and maybe that's also why McDavid and Draisaitl are playing together a little bit too. Yep. Like it could be a factor into things. And like you said, we're not saying Draisaitl or McDavid are injured. And if they are, then boy, oh boy, they are playing very well through that injury. But just on the penalty kill thing, like Draisaitl, I remember this one because I was at the game, but when the Oilers played Buffalo earlier in the season, Draisaitl was the centerman on the 5-on-3, or maybe it was the 4-on-3 penalty kill when Rasmus Dahlin scored. So I also just think the Oilers, like I said just a second ago, penalty kill hasn't been good. Probably just finding different ways to shake things up and try and find a little extra juice in themselves to get the penalty kill back to a decent standard.
Yeah.
5 likes away, by the way, for 100.
I got to say 4 likes away, yeah. All right, we are done our betting. Shout out to Betway, 18+. Please play responsibly. Catching up on a few chat things here before we dip out for the show. A very well-viewed edition of Oilers Nation every day. We do have a new episode of the Real Life podcast dropping right away, so I got to go run and do that. Oilers and Blues tonight, 7 o'clock puck drop down at Rogers Place. Let me just give one more quick peruse through the chat here. Deskar says he's starting to skate more with the puck, which is nice. I hope Clowder can still move with it when he comes back. Yeah, and hey, Oilers 7-3 in their last 10. No Fogle, no McLeod, no Kane. You're missing 33% of your top 9 still, right? So, again, there's never any guarantees that a team is fully healthy. But
when it is,
if the Oilers can maybe just get Fogle and McLeod back. Get those two back, shuffle everyone down. Lineup looks a lot more complete. I think this is a team that can win at, I don't want to set like the bar too high. I think the Oilers from January on, the goal should be you're a 600 points percentage team. And that should put you in a spot to potentially win the division.
They, like you said, I kind of off the start, like they can move into second tonight with a win, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think that the aspirations have changed on this team. Like the start of the season wasn't good and wasn't up to a standard of what this team should have been at. But now it seems to be finding themselves back on a track a little bit more. And I think the division is well within reach. It's kind of all this. The division's almost balanced itself out a little bit more now. And the Oilers have a softer schedule. We've spoke about Anaheim a ton. I can't remember if we mentioned it yesterday or where, but Anaheim's going to get worse. And the Oilers haven't played them yet.
Yeah.
So that's promising. They haven't played San Jose, the Kraken. They've played Vegas once. So there's a lot of promise for this team. I think the division is well within reach, obviously. And still winning the whole thing is still within reach, too.
Yeah. Someone was asking about Connor McDavid, if 150 points is actually something to realistically expect this season. It was one of my predictions this year is that he hits 150 points and he scores 50 goals for the first time. Well, he's on pace for over 60. And he's on pace for, as it sits right now, over 160 points. Something tells me he does it. A big question I would have, though, does he get to 100 quicker than he did in the All-Canadian season? That was 52 or 53 games. Can McDavid potentially do 100 points in 50 games? How can you bet against it right now?
That's the thing. I was just gonna say that. Like, how can you say no?
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, it's a very tough challenge, but also he's playing with Draisaitl right now too. They just both had multi-point nights again the other day. Like, there's nothing to say he can't go and do this. This man could do anything he wants in my eyes, because he's the best player in the league, and it's not even close. There's no one even close to him. So yeah, I think that's well within reach. So he got 152. That was it, right?
Yeah.
Why not? I'd love to find the odds.
Yeah, McJesus was asking if there's any odds on that. I don't think so, but you could probably honestly message a book and they might give it to you. But just based on how they usually treat Connor McDavid, you're not going to get a good payout on McDavid to hit 150 points. He is 1 point away from the 60-point mark, Liam. 1 point away from the 60-point mark, and it's game 31. Only 4 other players have even hit 40 so far this year, and one of them is his line mate.
The guy's pretty good.
It's nonsense.
The guy is pretty good. We have 2 likes away.
2 likes away, everybody. Let's get those last 2 likes, and then we'll wrap up today's edition of Oilers Nation Everyday. Wrap up today's short for giant game day edition of the show as well. Blues in town. Yes. McLeod back soon from Colton. Any news there? No news yet on Ryan McLeod. When they sent down Benson, I heard it's because they thought maybe Fogle was going to be close. That's clearly not the case. He's not going to play tonight. But I think you're at the point where Fogle feels like it should be days, not weeks. With McLeod, I have no idea. I haven't heard anything. And there is our 100 likes. So that'll be a wrap on today's edition of the show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Shout out to our lovely sponsors, Soho, down on Jasper, Sherwood Ford, The Giant, Sports Closet with 3 locations, St. Albert Mall, Sherwood Park Mall, and Kingsway Mall, Cornerstone Insurance, and Betway. Big shout to Frank Seravalli for coming in and having a great conversation with us, and to The Real Clean Shady for giving us some fantastic content here on a Thursday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. Honestly, thanks, because that was one of the best feud shows ever, and we loved it. If the Oilers go 6-2 from here till the end of December, $100 coming your way, Edmonton Food Bank, and we got some people joining us as well. Enjoy the game. We'll chat tomorrow, everybody.